Hey, how's it going? Phil here. And today, what I'm going to cover is how to build muscle after 40 and the three mistakes that a lot of executives make that just stops them from achieving their goals. So, you may be one of those guys that has dabbled with the gym in the past. You may be trying to do it right now. Maybe you're training from home. And either in the past or right now, you're looking in the mirror and thinking, right, what I'm doing isn't working. I'm not gaining muscle. I'm not gaining strength. I'm not getting the look that I want. So, let's dive into it. Our goal is to build muscle after 40, hopefully in a safe way and hopefully in a way that doesn't take 100 hours a week, because obviously you guys don't have the time. So let's cover the three mistakes that I see guys making all the time. Mistake number one is what I call mixing it up. There's a really, I think it's a great scene at the start of the film Dodgeball, where if you've seen it, you know, it starts off in the gym and the owner of the gym asks one of the members what he's going to do. And this guy, he's like this little short dude. I'm short as well, so I can't really make a joke of that. A little short, like kind of tubby dude. And he says, gonna throw some biceps in, do some cardio, you know, mix it up, keep the body guessing. And it always resonated with me because it was a mistake that I made in the past, and it's a mistake I see a lot of men making. So we'll come back to that. But if you don't fix this problem, you won't gain muscle. So that's the first mistake. While we go through this, as a side note, do me a favor and kind of do like a traffic light system. So if anything here is red, then you can say to yourself, "Oh, you need to fix this immediately." If it's an amber, it might be something you're doing, a mistake that you're making from time to time. Maybe you're being a little bit inconsistent, or you need to learn a bit more. And if it's a green, like if it's something you're not doing, you might be able to say, right, at least I'm doing that one right. So by the end of this training, you can look at this kind of model and say, right, of those three mistakes, this one is something I need to address, this one is something that's okay, and this one is not a problem. And then you can kind of hone your focus onto what actually matters. So mistake number two is something I call calorie focus. Possibly one of the most common ones. And what I mean by that is you are using weight training to burn calories to lose weight. And I get it. You're saying, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, Phil, that is my main goal right now. I'm sick of my beer belly. I'm sick of my moobs. Weight loss is my main goal. Fat loss is my main goal. And it is for every one of my clients. But we don't do that with weight training. If you make this mistake, what actually happens is you lose muscle often. I'm going to come back to this in a minute and go into this in a little bit more detail. But essentially, what you're trying to do when you do a calorie focus is, these are the mistakes you're probably making. You're keeping your recovery short between your sets, or you're doing circuit training in the gym, or you are possibly even going to a weight training class like body pump, where it's more of a, it really is a cardio class. And I know that because I taught that class for many, many years. And the third mistake, this is a tough one to fix, but it's important, is staying in your comfort zone. And what I mean by that is there is a certain point after you've been training for a while where getting stronger becomes more challenging. If you go to the gym for the first time ever, or you'll know this if you've been to the gym in the past and you've stopped and gone back, typically strength goes up really quickly. It's a beautiful time to be in the gym in some respects, because you go in every week and the reps go up, the weight goes up, you feel great. Some point, getting stronger becomes challenging. Now, for me, after 20 odd years, some exercises I am quite literally adding. I've got these little 250-gram plates. Think about that. I'm maybe doing 100 kilos on a row or 200 kilos on an RDL, and I'm adding 500 grams. So that shows how hard it is to increase your strength at a certain point. But a lot of men just don't actually worry about it. They stay in their comfort zone. So they have this period of time where it's like new, relatively new or returning, end of the what we refer to as the newbie gains or the returning to the gym gains. And after that, there's no emphasis on pushing and you don't gain muscle. So these are the fixes. I'm going to go into these in a little bit more detail now. What we actually want, instead of mixing it up, what we want is consistent structure. I have a little kind of, I guess, repertoire of exercises for every muscle group. Let's use legs as an example. Every session for the last 6 or 7 years, I've done some extensions, some curls, a leg press or a squat, and possibly an RDL every week in, week out. I remember one of my biggest obsessions was getting the RDL from a kind of a quite a low weight relative to my strength. It was 120 kilos. I should have been stronger. And the best I've had it is 250 kilos. That happened by just really kind of ruthlessly being consistent with it. You might say, but Phil, that gets boring. I get it. You aren't bodybuilders, so you might not have the same kind of tolerance where I can go in a lot of the time and do stuff that I deem as boring because I look at the bigger picture. So it's like, yeah, this is a boring half an hour, but is it worth it to make my legs bigger? I get it. You guys aren't the same. But what I have with my clients do is a couple of things we can do to fix that is most of my clients have multiple training sessions, A, B, and C, or A, B, C, and D, where they alternate. So if they're doing like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday will be session A, Wednesday B, Friday C, and they just rotate. So that gives you some variety because you have three training plans with different exercises. And then what I would say is if 80% of the time, 90% of the time, I'm following my set structure, and I'm going to explain why this is important in a second. From time to time, I will just go in and go, do you know what? I haven't done this exercise for a long time. Today, I did a new exercise, actually. The first time in a long time, I did an exercise that I've never done before, and I loved it. So now I'm going to bring it in, and even sitting in now, I can feel my triceps a bit sore because it's new. Why do we want consistency? Well, if you mix it up, a crude analogy is a bit like you are going to try and learn a language. You say, okay, I want to learn French. And some days you do French, and then another day you learn Polish, and then another day you learn some Russian. You don't get any better at the French because it's not consistent. It's the same with muscle building. You want to have a plan, stick to it. And if you're a beginner, you want to go through the phase of, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm not very confident. These exercises I'm better at them. I've mastered the movement and I'm confident. And now I can get stronger. So that might take a time. You might take an exercise like a deadlift and it takes you a few months to learn it, get confident. And then you might be like, well, I can only lift 100 kilos, but my friend over there is doing 180 kilos. Can I increase the weight? Can I get stronger? That is why we want consistent structure. That's why we don't mix it up. That's why we don't just wing it. Hopefully that helps. Calorie focus. What we want instead of calorie focus is performance. You're going to see a bit of a theme here, to be honest, because they're all going to come back to some things I'll talk about at the end. When you focus on calorie burning, you have to shorten your recoveries. And what I mean by that is you go in, you might do a set of squats. You might put 100 kilos on the bar, 50 kilos. It doesn't matter. And then you might only rest 30 seconds to a minute to keep your heart rate high. And then because you've rested you haven't rested long enough, you haven't often got your heart rate back down, so you can be a bit out of breath. But actually, it takes time for the central nervous system to allow the muscles to recover to generate power and strength. So instead of doing the second set with maybe 80 or 90 kilos, you drop it down to 50. We don't need to burn calories in a gym session. If my client says to me, I burn 500 calories in the weight training session, or they say to me, my heart rate average this, if they say how many calories they've burnt, with all due respect, I don't care. It's good. But if they say to me, Phil, I kept my heart rate high the whole time, I'm going to say that's not good, because what we wanted was the heart rate to come back down. And then we wanted to focus on performance. And by performance, I mean, how much can we lift? How many reps can we do? And how well can we lift? I would much rather you have a longer recovery and lift more weight. Don't turn your weight training sessions into a cardio session. And then the third mistake, staying in your comfort zone. Well, it's obvious. We want to get stronger. And this is an interesting one because maybe it's a lot of guys get into their 40s and 50s and think, well, a lot of guys think they're too old, or they're too old about injuries. Of course, we have to be aware of those things. But just because you are in your 40s, 50s, and 60s doesn't mean you shouldn't be trying to get stronger. And don't, when you say to someone you should try and get stronger, the immediate thought is like somebody being lifting heavy weights and being dangerous, maybe doing it with bad form, maybe doing things like strongman or powerlifting, things you look at and think, oh, if I did that, I'd hurt my knee or my spine. Getting stronger might be a side lateral with 5 kilos that you did for 10 reps, and then you build it up to 20 reps. Or a tricep extension that's very safe, which you're only lifting 5 kilos and you get it to 10 kilos. It doesn't have to be you trying to do 1 rep maxes. And there's this fine line between I'm going to hurt myself or I'm going to kind of get a personal best. So you should get stronger. You should over time be saying to yourself, right, this lift, I've improved my technique. I've added weight or I've added reps. If you go on, one of the beauties of social media now is you can go on there. And I posted a video recently to, I think, LinkedIn, of a man that was in his like 80s doing something crazy, like 150 kilo deadlifts. There was a woman recently that came up that was like 85 doing like 120 kilo deadlift. Like, these are women and men that are they're old. When you get to 80 or 90, most people just expect you to be sitting on the sofa doing nothing but watching TV. And these people are actively still trying to get stronger. It's not only good for building muscle, it's going to be good for your joints. It's going to be good for your mobility and your power. That is something you really, even if you don't give a crap about how you look, even if you just want to be slim, fit, getting stronger and reversing that aging of like, I get weaker, I lose power and I lose kind of muscle. Very, very important. So let's just recap very quickly. 3 things that guys over 40, especially execs, get wrong. They mix up their training too much. You don't want to mix it up. You want consistent structure. It's okay to have a bit of variety and change it from time to time, but it should be, the basis of it should be consistent. We don't want to be calorie focused. We don't want to be heart rate focused. We don't want to be trying to lose weight in the weight training room. We want performance. We want to focus on recovery and being able to progressively get stronger. And then related to that, number 3, get outside your comfort zone. This is the one that is probably the hardest one. You have to build that mental fortitude. You have to get strong mentally to, once you get past the beginner phase where it's easy to get strong, you have to start looking at your logbook and saying, right, can I do more reps? Can I do more weight? And you have to accept that it's going to be uncomfortable, but that is the price you will pay for having the muscle that you want. Now, if you'd like some help putting this into place in terms of putting the structure and the accountability and the support, then if you're watching this on LinkedIn or Facebook or somewhere, just either comment muscle below or send me a message. If you're watching this on my website or one of my pages, I'll just pop a button below that will allow you to book a call. I hope that helps, and I'll speak to you soon.